you're holding out for the Sony a7000 for video, it's already here. It's called the Sony FX30. We're looking into it right now. So is Sony APS-C dead in 2023? Well, I have the Sony FX30. I'm gonna give you the 5 features that I've absolutely liked or disliked since I've been using this camera for the past 2 weeks. Let's go ahead. We're gonna switch over to the FX30. Let's go ahead and do that right now. All right, we're back now with the Sony FX30. What do I like about this camera and what do I not like about this camera? First one is the anti-flicker compensation. Why am I starting off with anti-flicker? Well, generally with most of these mirrorless cameras, you're gonna be stuck having to shoot at 1/50 when you wanna shoot at 24 frames per second. Well, I found a little hack to get you that 180-degree shutter rule. And what is it? It's this anti-flicker on here. So right now, I do have the shutter set at 1/148. So this is the cinema camera, and being able to get exactly 180-degree shutter angle is something that a lot of professional video people want to get to. All right, number 2, what do I really love about this camera? I love that My menu. The fact that you can have one menu that allows you to change all your settings. You can change your shutter speed, f-stop, you can change your white balance, all that stuff can be easily changed right in the My menu. Once you set up your camera the way you want it set up, now you're just making tweaks based on, do I need to slow things down? Do I need a slower shutter speed? Do I want to go to 120 frames per second? It's really quick and easy to change those type of settings by using this My menu. And your camera's already set up. Now it's just a real quick thing. And it's definitely a better improvement over the Sony a7 IV and the Sony a7S III. The third thing that I like, but I hate at the same time, is the Cine EI setting. So you can go in and set this thing up for Cine EI. And if you're not sure what that means, basically long and short of it is, you always get the cleanest shot with Cine EI. You'd be shooting in an S-Log3 profile and you'd be shooting at the base ISOs. The base ISO on this camera is either 800 or 2500. The thing I don't like about it is the fact that you cannot do auto white balance. You don't have the ability with memory recall to change your custom white balance, but in Cine EI, you do have the ability, but it's a pain. It's a pain because you have to white balance every time. So for professional shoots, absolutely love it. You set everything up using Cine EI, but the problem is that you got a custom white balance. But you're doing a professional shoot, so that's not a problem. This is not a run and gun setting. I think it gives you amazing clean images, but it's not a run and gun setting. So for me, it doesn't work in my workflow. I'm somebody who usually is just shooting video straight from the hip. I'm not looking to set up a whole bunch of settings. Sometimes auto is good enough. I'm gonna say the APS-C sensor is a pro. You're gonna get an extra 1.5 times on all your lenses. Now, when you compare this to a full frame camera, price-wise, you're comparing it to some like the Sony a7C or the Sony a7 III, both around the same prices. This thing's about $1,800. Those cameras are about $1,800. If you want full frame with more features packed into it, you're looking at the Sony a7 IV, but you're gonna pay an extra $700 to get there. Now, this camera has 10-bit color. The Sony a7C and the Sony a7 III, those are only going to be 8-bit color. So this has more color information. It's easier to color grade, all those things. And it's an APS-C camera versus a full frame camera. So you're paying the same amount of money, but you're getting more features because you got that smaller sensor. If you're going to pick up the Sony a7 IV and pay $700 more, if you want that clean S-Log3 look, this camera has dual ISO as well at 800 and 3200. So now you're pretty much at the same ISO. And to be honest with you, you get some fast f1.4 lenses or 1.8 lenses. That low light, these Sony sensors are so good, that low light's gonna look great anyway. Now, downsides. It is an APS-C sensor. So what does that mean? Lens lineup, it's limited. It's definitely limited. There are more full frame lenses for the Sony system than there are APS-C cameras. If you want to slap your full frame glass on there, your 16mm is not going to look 16mm. It's going to look 24mm because you got that 1.5 times crop. And the other thing that I'm not crazy about with this camera as far as downsides go is there's no EVF. Ultimately, why did I go with the Sony a7S III? It's because it had the EVF. Now, I don't normally shoot with the EVF. It's not something that I like literally grab and I'm like got my eye up to it and I'm shooting video. No. What I'm using the EVF for is I'm checking my focus afterwards. I gotta be honest, so 3-inch screen, not the best resolution. It's hard to tell if you hit focus. The EVF helps with that. But here's what I can tell you. This is an entry-level cinema camera. It lets you put custom LUTs on this camera. So when you are looking through the LCD screen and you're trying to gauge whether your shot's gonna look good or not, you can see the LUT that you may wanna put on this shot right here on the camera. It gives you better exposure. You're able to nail things perfectly time after time because your color is accurate based on what you want the image to look like. I cannot stress that enough. If we can get a firmware update it and load the LUTs onto the Sony a7S III, this camera would be dynamite. But right now, the Sony FX3 and the Sony FX30 do beat this camera in this category because they let you do custom LUTs. And I cannot tell you how much I love the custom LUTs. It is by far my favorite thing about this, and it was my favorite thing about the FX30, is you being able to load custom LUTs is so helpful in knowing what your final image is going to look like. Sony does a good job of giving you that Rec 709 look, but ultimately, how do you want your shadows to look, your highlights to look? Custom LUTs help you with that. Plus, this thing is reasonable. It's only $1,800. I say reasonable at $1,800, but when you talk about the Sony FX3 at being almost $3,800 and the Sony a7S III at near $3,500, and you got the Sony a7 IV at $2,500. I mean, all these cameras get wildly pricey. For $1,800, you're getting a camera that is packed with features that are cinema line quality. They're the same features you see in the FX3, but you're getting it at $1,800. Yes. You're getting an APS-C sensor. It's smaller, but that also means that your lenses are going to be lighter. With your lenses being lighter, your bag's going to be lighter. So all these things play into it. And to be honest with you, most movies are shot on an APS-C style sensor. So you don't have to worry about this thing being a piece of trash. It's a great camera, great camera. And listen, if you're holding out for the Sony a7000 for video, it's already here. It's called the Sony FX30. We're looking into it right now. This camera is the Sony a7000 for video shooters. If you got any comments or questions about the FX30, leave those in the comments below. If you like this video, I'm sure you're gonna like the video on the screen now. It's about another Sony camera. Before you leave, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell. Thanks for watching.